This podcast is brought to you by Mapper Forward's new Patreon community, the Global Coffee Think Tank. Check the show notes or head to patreon.com/Mapper Forward to find out how you can become a member today. Welcome to another episode of the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and I am joined by Ahmad Aleidan from Bayan Tea. I almost said Bayan Coffee. Sorry. Bayan Tea in Kuwait. Bayan Tea in Kuwait. And we are talking about specialty tea. And in this episode, we're talking about how tea is traded. So tell us how tea is traded. Do you have a futures market like we have?
What kind of market? Sorry?
A futures market. So the way that, coffee is traded on a commodities market that is like a futures market.
Yes.
Does tea operate the same way?
In some parts of the world, yes.
Okay.
Certainly not in Kuwait. And mostly it's considered to be as any other agricultural product.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more or less is just the basic supply and demand and bartering, and that's it.
Okay.
We don't go through it. But some people, some other countries do have an established system going on, especially the ones who are, say, India and Sri Lanka. They focus more on that. That's for sure.
Right.
But not us. Not the way that I conduct business.
So I would assume that the regions of the world that mass produce tea would tend to have that kind of tea go to all the big FMCG companies.
Yes.
Yes. And their focus on quality is perhaps not as intentional. I'll be a little bit diplomatic there.
Yes. Well put.
And then when they trade with people like you who have a heavy focus on quality, you're likely to have direct relationships either with producers or with exporters from producing countries. Is that correct?
Yes. Bayan Tea is focused more on having direct trade, if not an aggregator. Let's say a representative of a co-op, representative of a community, representatives of let's say the tea associations in that area. So
right.
To the people who are more true into the agricultural side of it, more than actually the business side of it. Granted that we're not saints. We're not here to spread the word of God, or say. We're here to share the enjoyment that we have with this commodity. I myself have left a well-paying middle management position that I used to occupy in the telecom industry for 14 years, and I've been focusing just out of the joy of life and joy of having tea and sharing tea with people since 2018. So we focus on having an understanding of how finances are, and also how commodity. We strive to give the tea community what they actually deserve. If you have seen, I think many of us have seen how people are been treated when it comes to coffee and comes to tea and comes to other commodities, and see how their quality of life is, and how people are selling their efforts in a very say low price demand from the suppliers themselves or purchasers themselves, and you can see how much of a cup of coffee is selling or cup of tea is selling somewhere else. So we try to be more ethical, to be more let's say humane when it comes to approach that we purchase our teas from, and we tend to have a long-term relationship with our suppliers. I, for one, love to have a long-term relationship with my suppliers, and I do challenge them, because my door is open to whoever would like to share with us his tea, and if it hits the marks that we have, the scoreboard that we maintain in Bayan Tea, we go back to our suppliers. Hey, listen, we have a contender to whatever you have to offer. So either you I'll send them even a sample of whatever I got and see
Hmm.
how, and we always give them the upper hand that to come back to us with a better production, a better quality tea, a better delivery than what we used to, and to maintain such a relationship to them. And I don't think about money at the beginning, but we do have to have a price range that's considered to be suitable for us to sustain a business and also suitable for us to provide a commodity to the market itself.
So it sounds like we start with quality, and then if it passes all the quality specifications that meet the values of Bayan Tea, then the discussion goes into money. Is that correct?
Yes, we start off with knowing that exactly. I try to get the world of tea is big, is huge. So if I'm focusing on green tea, I would not go to other areas other than China. China is considered to be one of the largest, if not the leading, of green tea production. And when it comes to their the prices of tea can be tricky, can be demanding. And we need to find the right match for what everyone to serve, as well as to make sure that we are dealing with a person or a family or community that is true to his colors, true to his business. We strive to have qualities that would give us, okay, Bayan Tea focuses on Far Eastern standards of tea. So a cup of tea yielded from a specific, say, amount of. Okay, let me rewrite that.
Okay.
I'll come back to you again with a different angle. So we use Chinese standard of preparing tea. We use gai wands, which is the small cups with a lid. We use a smaller teapot than usual. We use kung fu cha, which is a flash brewing method.
Hmm.
So that certain amount of tea that we put in a pot should give us at least 5 steeps before we consider this tea as part of Bayan tea. So if we don't yield 5 pots from that exact amount of tea that we put in initially in that pot itself, is not acceptable. So if we get 3 steeps and we lose quality on the third, it's eliminated. If we get 4 and it goes bad on the fifth, we eliminate that tea. So this is one of the standard qualities that we look for: maximizing yield of tea that you won't find in commodity tea at all. The qualities diminish after the first serving of your cup using that type of tea that you pick up in the supermarkets. But if you could pick up from quality teas, you can have tea going as much as 5 or 6 steeps. And there are certain types of tea that would go up to maybe 15 steeps at a time. So you'll be
Really?
getting, you can get more than, averagely, I would get more than 750 mils up to 800 mils with 4 grams of tea, the same 4 grams.
Wow.
There
I
are
mean, I'm
some
used to
puer
three or
teas,
four, but
sorry?
I'm used to 3 or 4 flushes with the go on, but
Yes.
15?
Yes, there are some teas
Wow.
that we go to that level. That's why there are different types of elements used for teaware. You see, glass is made for a purpose, clay is made for a purpose, ceramic is made for a purpose,
Mm.
and so on. And the repetitive behavior that or repetitive steps require for a specific material to gain heat as much as possible so we can yield more tea of it. That's why green tea, let's say, yield an excellent cup using glass, because glass diminishes heat faster and you have an excellent extraction. And using tea, I'm not sure if you've tried gong fu cha or using green tea, it takes about 7 seconds to 10 seconds to extract a
Wow.
first tea.
Wow.
Yes. So by the time you reach your fifth steep, you're barely getting the minute and 20 seconds.
Wow. That's
Yes.
amazing.
So that's how I put a standard of quality on the teas that I supply and I source. So we look at the region itself. So if you're going to get red teas, I do intend to introduce different teas in Chinese, Ceylon, and Indian. I do not source them. So we have Chinese red tea, and we do have African teas as well from Uganda and Kenya. Then when it comes to white teas, we definitely get our Chinese teas, and green teas. It's a split between China and Japan, where we get our matcha and some other senchas. Then we can go to oolongs. I specifically believe that if we're going to a specific type of dancong oolongs, would be part of China. Otherwise, any other oolong would be from Taiwan, which is, I believe that from experience, from being there, being in the mountains, being involved in tea communities over there, that they have a far superior tea than anywhere, oolong tea than anywhere I've seen. And when it comes to black teas, again, there are post-fermented black teas that are indigenous to a certain part of China. So you would not have a pu'er tea that's not from Yunnan province, plain and simple.
Right.
So we diversify our products based on the strength of the region that we pick our tea from, of the world, a part of the world from. So each country has its own philosophy, on understanding, on business ethics, on the quality of delivery, and it goes through there. But focusing at the beginning on qualities with the region itself, the people behind the tea farm, and how much we can yield tea from that tea leaf, and if it's within an acceptable price range before we actually have to introduce it to the market.
And once again, you've set us up perfectly for the next episode, where we're going to talk about how climate change and geopolitical issues are influencing.
We're having one right now.
Right, which is why I say you've set us up perfectly. Just saying the word Taiwan is the perfect lead into that. So we'll be back in the next episode to talk about how climate change and geopolitical issues are influencing the tea industry. Thank you, Ahmad. And peace, love, and peanut butter, everybody. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, friends. If you enjoyed this video, here's what you should check out next. Consider supporting Map It Forward on Patreon, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell before you leave.